After reviewing 4 different Alo items, I can tell you I am not impressed with the quality of this brand. All right, we are back. This week, what do we have, Diego?
Check this one out.
Okay, Alo again. You guys must be requesting a lot of Alo because the team seems to be buying it. Conquer Reform crew neck short sleeve. Okay, right off the bat, first impressions. There is definitely some sort of spandex or elastane in this. Feels very stretchy. It's definitely been brushed / pieched to give it this little soft feeling. It's very bright white, probably polyester, but let's take a look at that. This is assembled in Nicaragua with US components. I don't know why people can't just say made in Nicaragua. So there's definitely something going on with Alo in Nicaragua. Maybe a partnership factory, maybe some sort of government deal, but seems a lot of their stuff are made there. Inspection number 11 and inspection number 37. So we'll see if they did their job here. All right, guys, a little intermission. So I'm just reviewing the Triumph crew neck video that we're putting out this weekend, and I just did a little more digging, and I finally realized why the fabric for a lot of these Alo items are so shitty is because Alo is actually the sister company of Bella+Canvas. Bella+Canvas is a blanks clothing supplier, so they're probably making this, or they are making this fabric in the same place that they're making the fabric for their blanks. If you actually look over here, this is their tri-blend from Bella+Canvas. This is probably something they sell for $10. And this is 50% polyester, 25% cotton, 25% rayon. And if you look on this one, it is 50% polyester, 25% cotton, 25% rayon. So this makes actually so much sense now why Alo as a brand has the marketing, the branding really dialed in, but the product isn't that great because the people running this company have a lot of experience making very basic blanks and not a lot of very technical garments. So yeah, if you want Bella+Canvas, I don't know why you want to wear Alo fabrics, are not great, but this shirt again from Bella+Canvas is, let's search this up here. It's like $12 Canadian, so like $8-9. So when you're buying Alo, just know that you're buying a reskinned product from a blanks company. Let's take a look at this again. First impressions. It is going to be a slim fitting crew neck, straight side seams. Okay, and let's see what this is made of. This is 94% polyester, 6% elastane. Polyester is obviously going to be the base material here. The elastane is what's going to give it its bounciness, its compression. So when you stretch it out, it's going to bring it back. A lot of times people think that spandex and elastane is what gives it its stretch. What it does is actually gives it its recovery. When you are making a knit like this, when you're actually stretching it, you're actually stretching the knits itself. So if you think of all the loops like this, when you're pulling this, you're actually just shortening these loops, and that's what gives it mechanical stretch in knits. And the elastane is what's going to bring it back, because the elastane does stretch, the polyester does not. We have the air, land, and ocean on the back in reflective heat transfer. We have a heat transfer for the Alo on the inside. So, and we reviewed the Triumph crew neck, and I know that's supposed to be more of their sporty line. I think this Conquer is supposed to be more of their day-to-day shirt. This definitely gives a vibe of more day-to-day material. With it being this peach, it might pill over time, but I don't think as much as the other one, which was a tri-blend. This is a single jersey knit. I'm going to show you actually the elastane on the inside here. So when I see something like that, where a bar tack's missing, everything when it comes to garment manufacturing is done in stages. So first you get the fabric laid out, you're gonna relax the fabric, then you're gonna put the pattern pieces on top, you're gonna either manually cut it or use an automatic cutter. And then after that's done, you're gonna start bringing it into sewing. So you're gonna bundle up all the different pattern pieces, you're gonna bring it to your sewers, and you're gonna do it in stages. So Typically, different workers are going to be responsible for different stages, and bar tacking is going to be one of the last stages because it's done on a finished garment. So when I see this and something's missing, either the shirt was maybe in a rush and it completely skipped that one station to do the bar tack, the person got lazy who was doing this and just did one and didn't do the other, or they simply just forgot while they're bar tacking. You know, when it comes to garment manufacturing, it's one of those things where it's so labor intensive and you're doing the same thing day in, day out, like any other manufacturing job. So especially if you're doing something that's as bright white as this is gonna be so hard on the eyes to work on over time that I wouldn't be surprised if people start missing this. The worst is actually striped clothing. If you try to look at striped clothing, and if you have to work on that day in and day out, I can't even imagine how much of an annoyance and difficulty it would be to work on a garment like that, just because it just fucks with your eyes. You'll see here on the inside here, this raw edge is uneven. So when I see uneven raw edges like this on a shirt, that tells me it's been manually cut. It tells me that probably these have been stacked quite thick. And I've seen factories that are pumping out tens of thousands of shirts a day, and they're stacking like this thick. And that shirt on the bottom is often going to be pushed out. So when you actually go to sew the shirt, that fabric, because it's been pushed out because of all the weight on top of it and it's been spread out, when you actually go take that piece to go sew a garment now, it's actually going to be smaller than the ones on the top. And you end up with a lot of variations in terms of measurement tolerances. When it comes to making a garment like this, you're gonna have various measurements. You'll have your across chest, you'll have your body length, which is gonna be from the high point shoulder down to the bottom. You'll have your armhole sleeves, your armhole opening. You'll have your neck opening, you'll have your bottom opening, side seam length. Basically, the more points of measure you put, the more accurate you can make a garment. We have an entire series planned for making shirts, so stay tuned for that. So again, when I see stuff like this, it just tells me that they're pumping these out in pretty high volume, and it's gonna be faster than doing it with an automatic cutter, especially if labor cost is really cheap. Manual cutter is gonna cost upwards of $50,000, $100,000. We just bought one for our development center we're building. It's not cheap, the machinery, and you can't actually go that thick because there's a certain thickness of fabric that the blade won't accommodate because it uses an oscillating blade or circular blade cutter. So oftentimes, if you are pumping out volume, you're gonna see companies using manual cutters like this, again, because it's a lot cheaper and you can pump out a lot more at a time. So let's take a look at the side seams here. What I'm actually gonna do here, before we actually cut it up, I'm going to take apart some of this cover stitch just so you can see the fabric as it's kind of like raw panel piece before it gets folded over, just so you get a better idea of what I mean by raw edge. But before I do that, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because we're building a really cool community here and I have so much more information I want to share with you guys. But let's go ahead and take this apart. Okay, so you'll see here, I've unraveled the bottom hem, and this is also another way you can tell if it's a single jersey. If you actually pull like this, single jersey will always roll if you pull across the grain. When you're cutting it, you're always gonna have the technical face up, so that would be the outside here. You'll see here, this bottom edge, and you'll see how edge itself, yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard because it's already starting to roll because it is single jersey. You'll see the bottom edge is kind of jagged the way it's been cut. Single jersey itself will fray. It's not something that you can what's called free cut, and you do have to hold back the fabric because the knit structure itself will actually start unraveling. I can start doing it right here. This is the polyester yarn itself, and it's made of multiple filaments, and you'll see it actually is a little crinkly here. That's because of when you're creating, especially synthetic fabrics, the yarn itself wants to be straight. What you end up doing is you send it through something called the stenter, and it puts, this is gonna get really nerdy, but it puts it into what's called a vitrification stage. And if you do 3D printing, you'd know about vitrification, but what happens is it kind of melts it into the knit structure so it maintains that shape. While I'm here, let's see if I can pull out some elastane. So you're gonna see, can you see that very thin fiber here in the middle? Mm-hmm. So you see this fiber right here? So this is the elastane. Super, super stretchy, but that is what's going to actually give it its recovery. And again, you'll see here, Everyone thinks yarn is actually just one fiber. This one is made of probably 35, maybe 50 fibers or filaments. And the way you actually measure yarn for polyester or for synthetic yarns is going to actually be what's called denier. And the denier is going to be the size of the yarn itself, and then it'll actually say how many filaments it's made up of. And if you want to get really nerdy, and the shape of the filaments itself will dictate whether or not the fabric has sheen or not. Because if you go with a round filament, it will reflect light. Whereas if you go with different shape filaments, you can actually have more matted looking fabrics. But that is the super nerdy side of fabrics itself. If you guys want to learn more about that side, we can go really deep on that. At Shift, we actually make a lot of clothing for our clients, especially a lot of athleisure wear. I've done millions of leggings for our clients. So we have a lot of knowledge in terms of how we actually construct fabric itself, because it's so important when making a legging. When all leggings are just a few flat lock seams, the fabric is what really makes the difference. So if you guys want to learn a lot more on the fabric side, let us know. So because we actually manufacture so many leggings, we've been able to go to the yarn suppliers where people typically don't get access. And we filmed an entire series where we're going to show you guys how you get from nylon pellets to filaments, to yarns, to knitting, to finished garment. And we're just waiting for the right time to put that video out. But I'm going to Diego to kind of send over here. So these are actually nylon pellets, and you melt these down, you make filaments, you make yarns. But if you really think about it, this came from this, which is pretty crazy. So let us know if you want us to go really deep on the fabric side, because especially for brands, we have a lot of tips we can give you guys. Back to the shirt review itself. A few things in terms of missed workmanship. You got missing bar tack, the raw edges. The raw edges is going to be from the cutting. We have the neck tape here. For most of the products I've seen from Alo, again, a lot of it is just branding. It really would not have cost that much more to extend it to the shoulder seam, to be honest. It would have made it a better garment, it would have made it wear better, but I think this product is really an exploration of cents and pennies, especially at this volume that you're creating these at. But let me cut this up now, and I'm gonna show you the panel pieces that you need to make this garment. Very straight side seam here. It's gonna hug the body. This is gonna be designed for someone who has a more slim or athletic build. If you do have a little bit of belly, this shirt's not gonna be the one for you because of that straight side seam. Your chest measurement and your bottom hem measurements are gonna be the same. So it's gonna wrap really tightly around your belly. And because of the elastane and the stretch, unless you're wearing a size that's probably too large, the way it's going to fit on you and the way it's going to drape, it's going to give you very much like a sausage effect. If you were to have redesigned this shirt with a different type of fabric and different type of yarn, it would have a very different look. And we're going to dive into that once our development center is done to really show you guys how different fabrics can really change the effect based off of the same pattern pieces and fit. So we have the side seams here. We have overlock seam obviously on the side. So now we've cut up the garment. These are all the panel pieces you need to make this garment. You have your sleeves, you have your back panel, your front panel. Of course, you have your neck ribbing and the little piece of neck tape here. Let's see what the GSM of this shirt is, and I want to tell you what I think this costs to make. If you've been here before, you know what this is. GSM cutter, what it does, it cuts 1/100th of a square meter of fabric, and that gives you the weight of the fabric. Weight, again, is only 1 point of measure when you are creating fabric. So it's like, think of it as like a cake, right? You can get the weight of the cake, you can know that is the weight of the cake, but you're not gonna know the exact ingredients, you're not gonna know if it tastes the same, you're not gonna know if it's the same mouthfeel. All those things are done via other points of measure. However, this is a very common way to measure basically the raw materials and extrapolate. Hey, these are your raw materials. This is the raw material cost. This is probably what's gonna cost to make. So put it in here. 180 GSM. This is like standard athleisure wear fabric. So we've, all the clothes behind us, by the way, are stuff we've made for our clients in the past year. And you'll see this change out once in a while because we're constantly making new things. If you think of like early Gymshark days, 180 GSM, 95% cotton, 5% elastane was like so common because it gave a very different feeling than the traditional cotton t-shirts. So when I see a fabric like this that is polyester elastane at 180 GSM, this tells me that there's a factory, it says manufactured with US components, so there's probably a mill in the States that has been set up to run this fabric. It's nothing too technical. When you're getting to the really technical fabrics, a lot of the four-way stretch interlock knits, you're really only gonna get that in China just because the technical know-how of making fabric like that just isn't present in the States. So this fabric itself is not gonna be very expensive. It's very common, it's been around for ages. The peaching is gonna give it a little bit more of a day-to-day wear rather than that shiny polyester sporty feeling that you're gonna get. There doesn't feel like there's a lot of treatments on this, like the women's top, which makes sense because men aren't necessarily looking for really, really great hand feel like women are when they're shopping. I would say, really looking at this shirt again, I don't think the shirt costs more than $4 to make in Nicaragua. There's nothing really special here. It is a very common fabric. It's been manually cut. There's stuff missing in terms of workmanship, like the one bar tack. This seems to be a fairly common thing so far with Alo that, again, they've done a great job with their branding. They've done a great job, I think, in terms of a lot of their designs. They're more on trend than other athleisure brands. But for the cost of 78 Canadian, 74 US, 110 on their website, would I say this is worth it? Definitely not. I think at this price point, there's a lot more shirts that are going to be a lot more versatile. They're going to last you a lot longer. When you get something that's this optically white, it's very hard to maintain this color as well. So this is going to start yellowing over time. It's going to start picking up dyes from other polyesters that you also have. And that's when you're going to start replacing the shirt because it's not going to be bright anymore. Your armpits, if you use antiperspirant with aluminum in it, it's gonna start coloring the fabric. Would I say this is a great shirt to buy? No. I would say look for other brands out there. I know a lot of people ask for what brands that I suggest. I don't want to suggest it without reviewing it on the show first, just so we can go through this journey together. Again, I don't think this costs more than $4 to make in Nicaragua. I hope you guys learned a lot, especially on the fabric side of what makes a shirt great. And this is not it. So let us know in the comments what other brands you want to see, and let us know what you guys think of Alo. Till next time. If you guys want to see more behind the scenes secrets on the fashion industry and learn more about how to create products and brands, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out these videos.